Through the centuries, the story of Spartacus, the gladiator who led the greatest slave revolt against Rome, has become one of the most dramatic and well-known events in history. His name is synonymous with the fight for freedom, but behind this epic tale lie many shadows, secrets that continue to intrigue historians, researchers, and dreamers alike. Who was this man, whose name became a symbol of courage and determination? What mysteries surround his story? Could things have been more complicated than they seem at first glance? Myth 1. Spartacus wasn't just a slave, but a descendant of an ancient warrior line. The official story of Spartacus, a slave, gladiator, and leader of a revolt, has formed the foundation for myths and legends. But what if we look at his figure from another perspective? What if Spartacus wasn't just a slave, but a man with deep roots in history? Some historians speculate that he could have come from an ancient warrior family, a tribe that once resisted Rome. Perhaps he was born among warriors, not common peasants or slaves. In Spartacus's time, Rome was a harsh and merciless empire, and many of the conquered nations fiercely resisted its rule. In his eyes, one could see not just determination, but strategic cunning, qualities essential for leading a revolt. This would have allowed Spartacus to do more than just wield strength. It would have given him the leadership abilities to rise above the common slave. What if his uprising wasn't an accident? What if he knew that the time had come, and his actions were part of a bigger, more complex plan? Myth 2. Spartacus was part of a secret alliance of slaves and other peoples. How could it be that a single slave revolt grew so rapidly into a mass movement that shook the Roman Empire to its core? The answer may lie in the secret alliances and conspiracies that supported Spartacus. Many believe that Spartacus wasn't alone. He might have been part of a larger network, a coalition of slaves, oppressed peoples, and even discontented Roman citizens, united not only by revenge, but by the idea of overthrowing the empire. What if Spartacus had other people standing behind him, just as determined and strong as he was? Slaves, tribes, and other nations who whispered in the shadows about how to bring Rome down from within. In many parts of the Roman Empire, there were similar uprisings, but it was Spartacus who became their face. Could his words have been part of a bigger plan, one hidden from everyone? Who stood behind him? Who gave him the strength and knowledge to be not only a fighter but a leader? Myth 3. A conspiracy or personal revenge. What was truly burning inside Spartacus's soul? We all know him as the hero who led the revolt. But what if his actions weren't just driven by the spirit of freedom, but by personal revenge? A gladiator, trained through harsh discipline, who had lost everything, his freedom, dignity, and his right to live. Could he have felt not only a desire to break free, but also a burning need to take vengeance for the humiliations and violence he had endured? His revolt may not have been solely an act of freedom, but a personal act of revenge. Revenge against Rome, which had ruined his life. But what if this revenge was part of a larger scheme, one kept hidden from everyone? Each brutal act of rebellion was not only powered by strength, but by strategy. Spartacus knew that his actions could change the fate of millions. But was he truly free in his decisions, or was he a pawn in the hands of those who manipulated him from the shadows? Myth 4. The revolt as the beginning of a larger movement. Spartacus became a symbol not just of his era, but of the larger fight against the Roman Empire. However, what if the slave revolt, which began with a small group of gladiators, was merely the first act of a much grander plan? Imagine a world where Spartacus wasn't the only one who rebelled. His movement could have been the start of a larger revolution that would spread across the empire. What if every battle Spartacus fought was part of a strategic plan, ultimately aimed at toppling Rome? But what if there was a deeper meaning to it? A struggle for freedom not just for slaves, but for entire nations under Roman rule. Spartacus could have become the face of this revolution. But what if he was only a pawn on a chessboard? Part of a grander game played by hidden forces who were determined to bring down the Roman Empire. The mystery of Spartacus, hero or pawn. Spartacus became a symbol of freedom, but his story is shrouded in many secrets and myths. Every step he took, every word he spoke, could have been part of a larger game, and his fate remains unknown. He was both a hero and a victim, a leader, and a tool in the hands of those who stood behind him. His revolt may have been an act of personal vengeance, but it also could have been the first step in a revolution that would change the course of history. Perhaps we'll never know all the answers, but one thing is certain. Spartacus was not just a slave, not just a gladiator, not just a hero. He was part of a great undiscovered mystery, one that still fascinates minds across the centuries. Questions that remain unanswered. What if Spartacus was just the tip of the iceberg? What if his revolt wasn't random, but part of a larger conspiracy? Could he have been part of a hidden network, and his actions only the beginning of a larger movement? The mysteries surrounding Spartacus still await their revelation.